I'm at an open house today. I've had a lot of questions about who owns it. And some people say, oh, this is a flip. What does that mean for a buyer? What does that mean for you? Well, there's 5 important things to consider. The 5 important things to consider when you're buying a house that's been flipped. Now, personally, I don't think it's a good idea or a bad idea to buy a house that's flipped, but there's a few unique considerations that you can overlook. They're important to think about with any house, but especially in a house that's flipped. Houses that are flipped are usually staged. Now, they look great, but if you don't live like this, the house is going to feel way different. For instance, do you have a television? If so, where would it be? Probably there, and your couch is probably not going to be there. It's going to be here. That changes the whole dynamic of the front of the house. Not a good thing or a bad thing, just something that is easily overlooked because of the staging. So number 2, don't forget about your appliances. So your refrigerator, washer, dryer typically aren't in the houses that are flipped. Now this might change depending on where you're at, but consider A, their cost, and B, their impact. For example, you walk in this house, you see a nice open kitchen, clear path to nice little neat room, except you're gonna have a refrigerator that sticks out to here. This nice white kitchen might have a big gray refrigerator sticking out, and then that's your washer dryer. You'll see that from almost the front door. Here's the front door. So you'll walk in, and if you've got a messy laundry pile and that makes you crazy, you're gonna see it. So you need a curtain or something, or a door, so you have the expense, but you'll also have the impact on that. Number 3, size matters. This house was built in 1976. Most homes that are flipped are older homes that are now being updated, but you can't change some fundamentals, like the storage. Okay, this is what would be the front hall closet where all your jackets and boots and equipment and stuff goes. It's kind of small in my opinion. The rooms are also small. I mean, partly this is a factor of the square footage of the house. This is a queen size bed in this room. It's got some end tables, and I think it's got decent storage. But I don't want to live in this house. So decent to me and decent for you are going to be different. So things in the 70s, especially, and also the 80s were a bit smaller. Garage is another place where you see that as well. If you've got a modern SUV or a larger truck, it might be tough to get in a garage that was built in the 70s. Okay, number 4 thing to consider. Consider who you're dealing with. Okay, if someone is flipping the house, they're probably an investor. They're probably pretty savvy. And what do they want? They want money. If you want the house, give them the money. Sometimes if a home seller has a home to sell, they might be wanting to give it to a young person to start their family, or if someone who has the same dog or whatever it is, and you've got that case. Everybody wants a strong offer, but the investor especially wants cash and they want it quick. So if you're thinking about putting an offer in a house on a Sunday, someone could have come in on a Saturday night and just snatched it up because the investor just says, I got an offer, I got a bird in the hand. So on the one hand, if you want to win that deal, win the house, give the investor what they want, it's a great way to get the deal. And the other thing to consider is they might say their open houses on Sunday and take an offer Saturday afternoon because they got a good one. So the houses that are flipped, sometimes they go quicker. Number 5, the 5th thing to consider is how quick they go, right? The time of year. The person who owns this house may have only owned it for a few weeks. It's January in Boise, snow, the furnace works. In fact, the furnace is brand new. That's great. But we don't know anything about the air conditioning unit. And probably the owner doesn't either. So the owner might not know that the AC needs repair. So just think about that. And also think about the livability of the room. I'm enjoying this room now. It's south facing, which in the wintertime is great. The house is warm. But consider that this house is going to be even warmer in the summertime with no window treatment. So A, you're going to have to buy that, but B, it might change the house altogether. I can hear a guy mowing his lawn right now. He's doing some kind of yard work. That's typically pretty quiet in the wintertime, but in the summertime, if your neighbor's got a big lawn, they could be mowing it. So it's just something to consider. Things that happen in the winter sometimes don't happen in the summer, obviously, and vice versa. And when you buy a house, sometimes it's easy to overlook that. I'm looking across the street just as another example. You see all that snow that's stuck around the north-facing aspect of the roof, and the gutters are not really dripping. It's not super warm today. But in the summertime, if you're buying a house that's been flipped, you might not know how the water comes off the house, if the gutters are in good shape, or how the leaves build up. So what you see in a certain time of year is obviously not what you're always going to see, but make sure especially you consider that, right? If you have a home has a big backyard, the seller might tell you, oh, when I do the leaves, I do them this way. I always clean the pool in August, or whatever it is the seller could tell you to do. Both an investor with the flipper, sometimes they have no idea. They may have never lived in the home, and they may have never seen the home at different times of year. So think about the different times of year when you buy a home. All right, those are my tips. 5 things to consider. I don't think buying a house that's been flipped is good or bad. I just think it takes a few unique considerations. Those are what they are. Thanks for watching.